Today, we'll explore the opportunities that Aguascalientes offers to American companies looking to find suppliers or expand their presence in North America. If you have any questions, please feel free to send them through the chat or the Q&A button on the bottom of your screen. To start the webinar, I would like to introduce Jorge Torres, AmCham Mexico's president, to give AmCham Mexico's opening remarks.
Thank you, Jose. Good morning. It's a pleasure to see you all. Good morning. I'm Jorge Torres, president of American Chamber Mexico, as well as vice president of operations for FedEx Express in Mexico. I would like to welcome Manuel Gonzalez, secretary of economic development for the state of Aguascalientes, Eduardo Infante, secretary deputy of investment and development of Ministry of Economic Development of the state, Guillermo del Rio, business development, public and government relations, Flex Mexico, and Stephen Ali, Senior Commercial Officer of the U.S. Commercial Service. I would also like to thank American Chamber's most important binational allies, the Mexican Embassy in Washington, D.C., and the American Embassy in Mexico, whose teams are joining us today and have helped us share this event with key stakeholders. American Chamber Mexico has been representing bilateral businesses for more than 100 years, strengthening the rule of law and promoting the integration of supply chains across North America. Through cooperations and investment, our companies will continue strengthening Mexico and support its economic development. Aguascalientes is currently ranked 18 in the American Foreign Direct Investment in Mexico and has more than 978 American companies operating in the state. Several American Chamber members have found business opportunities in different sectors, especially in the automotive manufacturing. Therefore, we are very excited to share this conversation with our members and potential investors all around Mexico and the U.S. to explore ways to strengthen our ties. Thank you all again for joining us this morning, and you are welcome.
Thank you, Jorge, for your remarks. Now I would like to introduce our speakers for today. Mr. Manuel Alejandro Gonzalez Martinez is currently Minister of Economic Development of the State Government of Aguascalientes. He has a bachelor's degree in international trade with an agribusiness specialization by the Institute of Technology and Higher Studies of Monterrey, and a master in management and innovation and technology by IPADE Bonaterra campus. Throughout his professional life, he is dedicated to agribusiness and international strategies. He has been CEO and CFO of several agro companies and Minister of Rural and Agribusiness Development at the State Government of Aguascalientes. Mr. Eduardo Infante Priego is currently Secretary Deputy of Investment and Economic Development at the State Government of Aguascalientes. He has a bachelor's degree in economics and a master in business administration, both by the Institute of Technology and Higher Studies of Monterrey. He is also the former director of the Office of Extension and Outreach in the Business Incubator of the Institute of Technology and Higher Studies of Monterrey Aguascalientes campus. Guillermo del Rio is Business Development, Public and Governmental Relations Director for Mexico at Flex. Guillermo has 33 years of experience in the electronics industry, starting his career at HP in 1987, continuing at IBM from 1990 to 1995, later at Sanmina from 1995 to 2000, and currently 20 years at Flex. He has held positions in materials engineering and customer service. He has also served as program manager, business unit manager, plant manager, and general manager. He's currently in charge of business development and client and governmental relations for Flex, plant space located in Mexico. He participates in different chambers, including his role as president of Cadalec, treasurer at Index, and VP at Canieri. Guillermo is an industrial engineer graduated from the Autonomous University of Guadalajara with a Master of Administration from the University of Central Michigan. It's also important to note that Guillermo and Flex are part of AmCham Mexico in Guadalajara. Stephen Ali is the Minister Counselor for Commercial Affairs at the U.S. Embassy in Mexico, where he leads one of the largest commercial service offices in the world. Prior to his current position, Steve served as the Regional Senior Commercial Officer for Western and Southern Europe, based at the American Embassy in Paris, France, Acting Director in the Office of European Country Affairs in Washington, D.C., Deputy Senior Commercial Officer at the U.S. Embassy in Mexico, Senior Commercial Officer at the U.S. Embassy in Athens, Greece, and as the Deputy Senior Commercial Officer and Acting Minister Counselor for Commercial Affairs at the U.S. Mission to the European Union. Mr. Ali received his graduate degree from the Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies and his undergraduate degree from Boston University. Welcome, everyone. So now, without further ado, Let's turn to our first speaker, Manuel Gonzalez, Minister of Economic Development in Aguascalientes, who will give us his remarks.
Thank you, Jose. Thanks for this introduction to myself. Good morning, everyone. Today is an honor and pleasure for me to be part of this virtual meeting between Aguascalientes and one of our main business partners we have. I want to thank all of you for being here, especially to the American Chamber for this opportunity to share with their associates all information about Aguascalientes. Thanks a lot, Jorge Torres and your staff, for this opportunity to work together with the Ministry of Economic Development of Aguascalientes. Aguascalientes is located in the center of Mexico. It's one of the states with the best indices of competitiveness, quality of life, social peace, and productivity. Since 1980s, Aguascalientes has been characterized as an attractive destination for a foreign investor in our companies. Furthermore, we must highlight the great potential of Aguascalientes in the automotive, aeronautical, agroindustrial, logistics, energy generation, and IT sectors, for which we seek to foster relationship with all countries of the world to explore opportunities for commercial development in benefit of our business partners and the economic of Aguascalientes. Given the changes that the economic dynamics in all the world have had due to the health contingency, Aguascalientes government, through the Minister of Economic Development, has implemented new strategies for the economic promotion, a new and aggressive incentive program, and the constant use of virtual meetings and webinars instead business travels or expos. We are looking to potentiate foreign investment as a key factor for a prompt post-COVID recovery. Also, we are helping our local companies to expand its markets in other countries. All of this thinking in the economic stability and growth of the families and companies established in Aguascalientes. We are sure that this meeting will be a great opportunity to share information and ideas from the different international realities. Thank you again for attending this invitation. Thanks also to Guillermo del Rio from Flex Company to share with us all the information of the successful history of Flex in our state. Also thank you to Stephen Ali for his participation. I'm sure this approach will contribute to improve and increase our business relationship. Thank you very much, and good morning again.
Thank you so much, Manuel, for your remarks. Now, please welcome Eduardo Infante Priego, Secretary Deputy of Investment and Economic Development for the State Government of Aguascalientes in Mexico. You're in mute, Eduardo. There you go.
Sorry, thank you very much once again. It's an honor to be here, just as our secretary said. And with no further ado, I will talk a little bit about Aguascalientes and its opportunities. Aguascalientes, driving Mexico from within, as we call this presentation. Aguascalientes is the third smallest state in Mexico. It happens to be right in the center of Mexico, which is a neighboring country to the south of the United States, as you know. And Aguascalientes is settled in an area called El Bajío. El Bajío is composed by 5 different states in Mexico. Jalisco, San Luis Potosí, and Querétaro. All of them share a lot of economic boosts in common, but also we share culture, we share values, and we share the benefit of becoming the most important region for foreign direct investment in Mexico in the past few years. Because of the for a couple of years, we decided to work together as an alliance. So we call this the Bajío Regional Alliance. And I would like to begin by telling you a little bit more about this alliance that we have. This is a region with 22 million inhabitants. It has become the most attractive region for attracting foreign direct investment in Mexico in the past few years due to our economic dynamism. We have a GDP of $190 billion, which accounts for 17% of Mexico's total GDP. We have an average annual growth rate of 4.4%, which is at least 1.6 times higher than the national average. As a region, we're located in the heart of Mexico. We are part of the Nazca corridor. We're less than 1 day away from both the U.S. border and the main ports of either the Pacific or the Gulf of Mexico. We are connected to the world through 6 international airports, and we are home of the highways number 45 and 57, which are the 2 main roads in Mexico. If we were a country by ourselves, these 5 states in Mexico would be larger than Romania, Chile, Guatemala, or Netherlands in terms of population. We would be just as big as Australia, for instance. If we compare our GDP to other nations, if we were a country, we would be as big as countries such as Romania, Portugal, or Peru, or almost as big as the economy of Chile, the whole country of Chile in total. If we take a further look and we zoom in Mexico and we compare ourselves to different states in the country, we will see that according to the GDP distribution, we're just as big as Mexico City, which happens to be the strongest economy, the strongest state economy that we have in this country. And we are twice as big as the states of Mexico, Nuevo León, or 3 times as large as the state of Veracruz, which are the 3 main states in terms of their GDP contribution when you zoom in locally. In terms of foreign direct investment, the Bajío region has attracted more direct investment than even Mexico City or Nuevo León or Coahuila, which tells you a lot about the confidence and about the business climate that you will find in this area. Our main sectors are the automotive sector, followed by the agri-industries, and then we have gas and oil production and transportation, plastics, e-commerce, footwear, logistics, metal products, chemical products, and some other derivative metal products. These are the different sectors that comprise for the strength of our economy locally. Finally, the Bajío region happens to have a very good ranking. When you look at the state capitals of each of these states, you will see that we are top 10 in almost every indicator. When it comes down to the indicator of doing business in Mexico, since the year 2016, Aguascalientes has been in first place, followed by Guanajuato in number 6, San Luis Potosí number 8, Jalisco, which ranks 9th, and Querétaro, which ranks 11th. So this is a little bit about El Bajío, which is the region that hosts us. As we mentioned before, we're very strong in terms of attraction of foreign direct investment. In the past 20 years, we have attracted more than $91 billion, which represents 17% of the country's total FDI. Most of this investment comes from the United States, Germany, Japan, and China. In terms of exports, this region represents 1/5 of Mexico's total exports. We have an annual growth rate in our exports of 5%, and in the past 10 years, the exports from the alliance showed greater dynamism than the exports from all of the country. I mentioned some other sectors in which we are strong, and these are just examples on why we're strong. In the agricultural sector, 1/4 of every exported food from Mexico to the world comes from this region. In the aerospace industry, we're ranked 4th as a country in terms of aerospace investment, and this region has concentrated more than 80% of the total investment for the aerospace industry in the past decade. In the fashion industry, Mexico is the 9th largest footwear producer in the world, and the region concentrates 90% of this production. In the automotive and auto parts industry, the region comes with 10 assembly parts or OEMs, and in the IT sector, 4 out of every 10 IT companies are established within this region. So before speaking about Aguascalientes, I wanted to state why we are strong due to the fact that we are part of this region. Now, if you allow me, I will speak further about the state of Aguascalientes itself. In the state of Aguascalientes, our economic foundations are sound. We ranked first in terms of average annual growth with 4.6%, according to the National Statistics Office, in the past decade. We are number 3 in terms of social well-being. We ranked 5th in terms of innovation of our economic sectors, 7th in terms of most competitiveness, and we have been granted with the highest degrees of inversion, AAA by Fitch Ratings and AA plus by Standard & Poor's, which happen to be the highest standards that both of these firms grant to the Mexican states, given to the health of our public finances. And finally, as I had mentioned before, Aguascalientes ranks first in terms of doing business in Mexico by the World Bank. We are a very competitive state. Right now, we are one of the top 10 most competitive states in Mexico. Something to highlight in here is that the 41% of our population, of our productive population, has secondary schools or higher technical studies. Our GDP nowadays per capita is close to $9,000. And as you can see highlighted in yellow, we can find the most competitive states in which Aguascalientes, Mexico is part of. Now, I probably have not mentioned it, but Aguascalientes is right here in the very heart of Mexico, in the very center of Mexico. We're only 10 hours away south to the Laredo border in Texas. So which are our competitive factors? We narrow them down with 6. Our competitiveness lies on our strong economy, on our people, on our infrastructure, on our location, in the fact that we are ready for welcoming any type of industrial activity, and on our quality of life, which makes it a great place to live. I will just develop these ideas up next. I mentioned why our economy is strong already. We have been growing at a steady pace and with the highest average rate of GDP for any Mexican state in the past decade, which has given us the opportunity to host more than 260 foreign companies. You will see some of the logos which are familiar to you. We are very pleased to have good experiences and stories by the companies that have settled in Aguascalientes. And in a few more minutes, you will be hearing directly from Flex, one of the strongest companies in Aguascalientes, which is a member of the American Chamber, what has been their experience in Aguascalientes in particularly. The FDI in the state comes from basically 2 countries. 80% of the FDI basically comes from Japan with 55%, or the USA with 22%. And then we have the remaining 15%, with with countries such as Germany and Spain, and another 7% from other countries such as France, England, the Netherlands, and China increasingly as the years have come. This investment is mainly provided by the manufacturing industry. 80% of the FDI that we have in Aguascalientes goes to manufacturing activities, and the 22 remaining goes to other activities or industries such as trade, construction, electricity, services, and transport. Aguascalientes has done a lot to guarantee that the foreign direct investment for countries such as Japan or the United States is stable due to not only the economic conditions, but also by allowing the companies that come from these countries to find a young, educated talent in the state of Aguascalientes. As you can see, the demographics in Aguascalientes are half by half in terms of men and women. One important thing is that the average worker in Aguascalientes has an average age of 25 years old. So this gives us the opportunity to guarantee that for the next 3 decades, people in Aguascalientes are going to be available, are going to be talented. In the next slide, you can see how the population of Aguascalientes, at least half of the population has elementary school studies, and the other half has high school or technical and university studies. When we narrow in this 20.7%, which has technical or university studies, you will see that 33% of our student population nowadays is studying STEAM majors. That is science, technology, engineering, or mathematics. This particular data provides us with the honor to be the highest state with the state with the highest STEAM major per capita students in the country. We also focus on having bilingual international students through our technical universities that are administered by the state. In terms of infrastructure, Aguascalientes can provide you everything that you need for your manufacturing or business activities, such as power redundancy, fuel storage, electricity. And when it comes down to electricity, I would like to highlight the fact that Aguascalientes has already 6 solar power plants running, and 2 more are on our way. By the end of next year, in 2021, we will be able to generate over 4,000 megawatts a year. That is equivalent to the electricity that is generated by the whole country of Austria in 1 year. And when we're talking about generating our own electricity, we're doing through photovoltaic technology. So Aguascalientes is very strong in this regard in the generation of energy provided by the sun. We have several industrial parks, which is the model that we mainly use for attracting foreign companies into Aguascalientes. We have 21 industrial parks, spread out throughout the state. In terms of logistics, our international airport as a custom office is part of the NASCO corridor. We have train companies serving both coasts. Aguascalientes happens to be one of the few states in Mexico in which the two railroads operating in Mexico collide. That is Ferromex, which is highlighted in red, and Kansas City Southern, which is highlighted in green. We have direct connections to different airports, 2 in Texas, that would be Houston and Dallas, to the Midway Airport in Chicago, and also to the Los Angeles International Airport, as well as immediate connections to Monterrey, Cancun, Mexico City, Tijuana, and Puerto Vallarta. So as you can see, Aguascalientes is at the of your hand, and basically in a 1 or 2 connections flight, you can be from any part of the world right into Aguascalientes. Let me tell you that we're ready to host you for your manufacturing activities or your commercial activities. Given to the fact that we have a skilled and available workforce, we have one of the lowest turnover ratios in the country. We also work with design and technology centers as well as clusters through our dual educational model with the technical universities of Aguascalientes. We have placed a lot of work in certifying local vendors so that the manufacturing activities can find easy suppliers. And in terms of economic potential of cost effectiveness, we rank number 7, which is nothing but mention that Aguascalientes happens to be a very low-cost place to engage in manufacturing activities. And most importantly, Aguascalientes is holding a national record. This year is our 50th. The state that follows us is Querétaro, and Querétaro only has 25 years in this ranking. So as you can see, we have worked in half a century to provide opportunities and to guarantee the satisfaction of both companies and the workers so that they can work hand by hand and focus on what's important, which is the generation of work, the generation of employment, and the benefit for the society. When it has been necessary as a government, we have provided the conditions so that both the companies and the unions can talk and can reach understanding without having to go into a strike. This is how the ecosystem for the manufacturing of light vehicles in Mexico looks like. Aguascalientes is highlighted right here in the center. And we also have highlighted the other states in Mexico where you can find OEMs. As you can see, Aguascalientes is close to the most important OEMs in Mexico. We in the country, in the state of Aguascalientes, have 3 OEMs, 2 plants by Nissan, and a third one, which is a joint venture between Daimler and Nissan, in which they produce a type of SUV for Mercedes. And this is the only place in the world, the only state in Latin America where Mercedes is currently manufacturing cars. They used to do it in Brazil, they're not doing it anymore. So the only state in Latin America, or the only place in Latin America where you will see Mercedes manufacturing their cars is here in Aguascalientes. It's for the sole reason that they have trusted the quality of our labor and our competitiveness. When we analyze the production of light vehicles in the year 2020, you will see that Nissan is the second highest car manufacturing in Mexico. But the importance of this is that not all of the production, unlike the other plants, which basically export 90+% of what they produce, in the case of Nissan, about 60% of the total production is exported and 40% of the production is for the local market. So when you want to take a look on how well an economy is doing, you can just focus on Nissan and you will find a lot of explanations on how the regional market or the local market is going. This is important because the confidence of Nissan in the state of Aguascalientes is large, as well as the confidence of Aguascalientes in Nissan. This is a company that certainly has provided a lot of conditions for our industrial and economic development. And we are very proud to say that nowadays, over 240,000 people in Aguascalientes are employed directly or indirectly by the automotive sector, given to the conditions that we have provided to companies such as Nissan. And obviously, right after Nissan, a lot of flow from different companies, not only in the automotive sector, have come. To finally end this conversation in our part, we want to highlight that Aguascalientes is a great place to live. We are home of different cultural, sporting, and recreational facilities. We offer affordable world-class healthcare system, international school, top-ranking universities, and the likelihood of living in Aguascalientes grants us the 9th most habitable place to live in the country. An important fact is that 6 out of every 10 workers in Aguascalientes are owners of their own home. This tells you basically two things. One is that they can afford to buy a house, and the second one is that they want to be here, that they want to remain in Aguascalientes to make it part, and they want to be part of this community. We have almost 100% coverage in the basic services such as sewage, electricity, and running water. In terms of healthcare, we rank 4th nationwide. Given to the fact that we have 10 general hospitals, specialty hospitals, international services to our international community, we are ranked 3rd in terms of security. Aguascalientes is perceived number 3 nationwide in terms of social perception of security. We work with a lot of technology. We have our C5 center, which has over 2,000 cameras monitoring the activity of the city of Aguascalientes, where 80% of the people in the state live. Aguascalientes has worked a lot in order to diversify its economy. Right now, we have an economic complexity index of 83%, which grants us the 9th place nationwide in terms of complexity of our economy. In terms of social progress, we ranked in 3rd place, and as well as the best environmental quality. And we hold the 1st place with the shortest transfer times. And most households in Aguascalientes have access to internet and a computer. We are also home of different cultural activities. We are the only state in the country that has a university of arts, where students can get a major from the arts, such as dancing, music, and the other type of fine arts. And just last year, we held more than 10,000 cultural and artistic events. So looking forward to the future, Aguascalientes is heading to be an educated state, a safe and free state, a competitive state with an austere government, and responsible and sustainable with the environment. These are the 8 economic sectors. Any of your company falls into any of these 8 sectors, we will be more than willing to talk in order to provide you with incentives so that you can make operations in Aguascalientes. So this is our state. Please feel free to be in Aguascalientes whenever the borders and the health issues allow it. And we are once again more than honored to speak to you all. Finally, our invitation is not only to invest in Aguascalientes, but to be part of Aguascalientes, to become part of our community. So, on behalf of our Governor, Martin Orozco, and our Minister, Manuel Alejandro Gonzalez, Eduardo Infante, who is talking to you, thanks you for this opportunity, and we will be here for the remaining of the webinar in case there's any questions at the end. Thank you, Jose.
No, thank you so much, Eduardo, for that very informative presentation. I think I personally learned a lot as well of some of the sectors and specific opportunities available. Now, please welcome Guillermo del Rio, Business Development, Public and Governmental Relations in Mexico, who will share his experience operating a successful American business in Aguascalientes.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I would like to start saying thank you very much for this invitation to the webinar. Happy to see my friends from AmCham and the government of Aguascalientes. So I'm gonna share you the presentation that we have to talk about the experience we have had in the state of Aguascalientes. So I'm gonna talk first about Flex as a corporate. So we are a company with 26 billion in revenue. We are part of the Global 500 in the ranking. We have 160,000 employees with a lot of engineers and designers as part of it. We manage a lot of customers and suppliers, and we have 130 campuses or operations across the world, and out of those, 20 with design centers. We participate mainly in these industries, communications, enterprise and cloud, lifestyle, consumer products, industrial, automotive, and healthcare. Here I'm showing how we are in the world, where we have plants. As you can see, we have presence in many countries, more than 30 countries that we have presence. And the idea is to give solutions as close as possible to our end customers. In the case of Mexico, we represent 1/5 of the total revenue of the company. We have 9 sites with 40,000 employees and with 6.7 million in operational space. Here I'm gonna talk a little bit about the sites that we have, and then I'm gonna expand in the case of Aguascalientes. But basically, we have 5 plants at the border. In the case of Juarez, we have two plants. Tijuana, it's a site where we do medical products, basically disposables. Then San Luis Rio Colorado, where we have audio and speakers. Juarez, which is an industrial park where we have products that are very sensitive to the logistics cost to North America, and we also have harnesses. Reynosa, which is an automotive plant. Then in Guadalajara, where we have automotive and telecom products. Querétaro, also automotive products, and then Aguascalientes. Aguascalientes is a plant, the oldest across all the plants we have. We started operations in 1983. It was a former Xerox plant. We have there 640,000 square feet in manufacturing space. And we basically serve industrial and healthcare segments with a headcount of 4,500 people. We have capabilities such as mechanical assembly, metals, printed circuit boards, plastics refurbishment. We have a packaging lab and also an internal recycling center. We have all the certifications required. Of course, the medical certifications are very important here. And the idea is to offer in one single site a vertical integration. With this, we have less cost, less touches. So here I'm showing the layout of the Aguascalientes plant. First, I'm showing the building that we have for stamping, where we do the punching, the vending. We form the product, we paint, we have a lot of secondary operations. And then we move the parts to other buildings for final assembly. We also have the plastics building, where we have 50 injection molding machines ranging from 60 to 500 tons, and also with a lot of secondary operations, and parts are also moved to the top level buildings. Then we have another building where we have our SNT lines. We have 16, and we have a state-of-the-art equipment. We manage all type of components, all presentations, and finally we move all these parts to all the different buildings where we have we have integration. In some cases, we have clean room environment, and we can manage build to order, configure to order, or direct order fulfillment. We also provide post-sale services, so we manage logistics, then we do remanufacturing, recycling, refurbishment, repair, and we extend the service to our customers. Here I'm showing some of the products that we are manufacturing there. I'm not gonna describe them, you can see them, but basically we have very complex products with a lot of electromechanical environment. Aguascalientes is considered as the center of excellence for all the industrial products and medical that requires a lot of mechanical assembly. And you can see that we have products that are also high volume, or also the ones that are low volume. But here you can see that we have the final assembly that we are sending directly to the end customers, and with this saving a lot of time and money for our customers. One of the important things is that we have a lot of good talent in Aguascalientes. We have agreements with the local institutes and universities. So every semester we have good engineers, good technicians, and we also have a program where we keep training them. Sometimes in our operations, sometimes we partner with these institutes and universities. And the other important thing is that the seniority that we have in our people is really good, it's high. 15 years in the case of the indirect labor, and 10 years in the case of direct labor. And what we have here is that a lot of operators are multi-skilled, so they are very flexible, and the idea is to keep growing this talent. In this chart, which is very interesting, I'm showing the growth that we have had in number of customers, revenue, and space. So as you can see, in year 2000, we had just one customer. Nowadays, we have 32 customers and continue growing. We have projections to continue growing and to reach or exceed 1 billion revenue a year. And you can see also at the bottom that the space that we have, this is manufacturing space, where we have been adding. The last addition was year 2020. Well, basically, it was at the end of 2019. And here, let me tell you that corporate was reluctant to have more buildings or new investments while we had some space at the border. But Governor Orozco asked me to take him with our CEO, and we went to the corporate offices, and he was very convincing. He talked with our CEO. He explained exactly what Eduardo just showed to us in the previous presentation. And he convinced our corporate to approve this new building that was added recently. And with that, we are going to continue the growth in the state because this is a very successful site. So I'm going to close with the takeaways that we have in the state. So we have a very strong labor stability. This is one of the strengths that it was shown that we don't have any issues. The commitment of the people and the attendance is really good. In the state, we have the proper security levels. This is very important for new investments to have the customers happy and willing to visit us. We have a government that is very easy to do business. They understand the industry and they are supporters. We find in Aguascalientes a very strong ecosystem where industry, government, and academy are well connected with good communication, understanding that this is a teamwork, and of course, resources. Talent pool is very key to keep growth and to keep improving all the time. The city infrastructure is very good connectivity and room for expansion. And the other important thing is that the suppliers that we have in the region, it's really good, especially talking about mechanicals. And well, these are strengths of the city. We are very happy and we will continue growing, and we are open to receive you if you need further information. And at the end, maybe we will have time for questions. Thank you.
No, thank you, Guillermo, for that presentation about Flex's operations in Aguascalientes. Now, I would like to turn to our last speaker, Stephen Alley, Minister Counselor for Commercial Affairs at the U.S. Embassy in Mexico, for his remarks.
Thank you, Jose. On behalf of the U.S. Embassy in Mexico, good morning to everyone. It's a real honor to participate in this webinar with AmCham Mexico. It's an organization I have a very deep respect for, so congratulations, Jorge, and your team at AmCham Mexico for putting together this important channel of communication with potential partners from the United States. Of course, I want to thank my public sector counterparts from the government of Aguascalientes, Minister Manuel Gonzalez, Deputy Secretary Eduardo Infante, and of course, Guillermo del Rio from Flex for their insightful presentations they shared with us this morning. I think this is a great opportunity for U.S. companies on today's webinar to hear directly from high-level officials in charge of business in Aguascalientes and from the private sector there that's already operating in Aguascalientes today. So I head what is called the United States Commercial Service in Mexico, and the U.S. Embassy in Mexico, along with the 9 consulates, make up the largest U.S. mission in the entire world. Last year, basically what we do, our purpose is to help U.S. companies expand into Mexico and then to help Mexican companies invest back into the United States. And so last year, for example, we helped about 38,000 clients worldwide achieve their goals, and it's worth an estimated about $140 billion. So we have teams of business development and industry experts in Mexico City, Monterrey, and Guadalajara, and their number one job is to help develop linkages and partnerships between U.S. and Mexican businesses. And so with me today on this call is the head of our Guadalajara office, Patrick Krisick. And Patrick and his team cover much of Western Mexico for us, including Aguascalientes. Happy to share his contact details with anyone on the call that's interested in getting more information about how we might be able to assist you. So I'm so bullish on Mexico that this is my second stint here with the U.S. Commercial Service in Mexico. And over the years that I've been here, I've personally witnessed the impressive economic development across Mexico, and especially in places like Aguascalientes and the Bajío region. And I've had firsthand experience also in seeing the success of so many U.S. companies have had here in Mexico. As ambassador to Mexico, Christopher Landau emphasized in a visit to Aguascalientes only 2 weeks ago, our strong relationship with the state is really based on a shared interest in economic growth and commercial ties, and a strong collaboration on security issues. So both Ambassador Landau and Aguascalientes Governor Martin Orozco, they underscored that these efforts have created a strong and positive foundation on which to further expand our efforts to promote prosperity and deepen our relationships. So in that way, this morning's discussion is very timely. Aguascalientes has succeeded in becoming a principal destination for private sector business and investment because of its impressive business infrastructure, growth-oriented mentality, skilled workforce, and relatively low levels of crime and insecurity. So you heard already from Eduardo's excellent presentation earlier about why Aguascalientes and Bajío is so competitive. But when you consider the industries that are there in Aguascalientes now, especially the automotive, auto parts manufacturing, electronics, and even at the agribusiness. And I understand Aguascalientes is a principal producer of corn and chicken. When you consider all these, the U.S. is a leader in so many of these industries too. So there's a natural complementarity there. It's a natural partnerships between firms in Aguascalientes that are looking to strengthen their competitive position by investing in innovative American, for example, machinery, cutting-edge equipment, important business and trade facilitation services. So many of you may already know, the U.S. is the second largest foreign investor you've seen this morning in Aguascalientes. There's a number of you've seen the firms that are invested in the state. You've heard directly from Guillermo and Flex already. And these are really collectively a great example of our North American supply chain in action, which forms the backbone of our bilateral commercial relationship between the U.S. and Mexico. So as we look to the future in terms of confronting the challenge of recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic, and we look to insulate ourselves further from potential future shocks, broadening and deepening these ties, this supply chain is going to be critical, in my opinion. Having served overseas for the past 25 years in Asia, Europe, and Mexico, I am convinced that North America is, without question, the most competitive economic region in the world. And so let me just close by saying you also probably know the U.S. trades more with Mexico than it does with any other country in the world. And we in the U.S. Commercial Service and the U.S. Embassy here in Mexico stand ready to assist U.S. companies to enter and deepen commercial relationships in Aguascalientes and across all of Mexico. So as Ambassador Landau is fond of saying, the United States and Mexico are truly socios, vecinos, amigos, or partners, neighbors, and friends. And today's webinar is just one example of this great partnership in action. So thank you very much, Jose and Jorge.
Yeah, thank you very much, Steve, for that presentation. I mean, the U.S. Commercial Service is a very important ally of AmCham Mexico, and we're very excited, to further this partnership and with the state of Aguascalientes. We will now open the floor for some questions from the audience. So we got a couple of questions here. And please remember, if you have any other questions, you can send them through the Q&A or Preguntas y Respuestas, PNR, or the chat. So let's start off with, I think, a question, and please feel free to, chime in, either Guillermo, Steve, Eduardo, if you have, any insight into any of these questions. So to start off, how have the first months of the USMCA impacted Aguascalientes?
I guess I can answer it partly, the question. These first few years of the USMCA in Aguascalientes have been of introspection for the companies that are already settled in the state. And we have also seen a lot of interest in companies from either the US or mainly Asia to explore possibilities to come to Aguascalientes. We believe that in the manufacturing industry, specifically in the auto industry, this is so due to the fact that the percentage of the rules of origin has to increase. Therefore, some companies from Asia that were doing operations in that continent are coming to the Bajío states in order to foresee whether they can start operations or expand their existing, take it to the USMCA. On the other hand, the micro sector, the micro businesses have been excited about the opportunities that this offers, but we as a state government have to work a lot with them so that the small firms take advantage of the opportunities because they cannot do it by themselves. They need a lot of assistance and support from here to explore what the USMCA has to offer.
Thank you, Eduardo. I don't know if Steve or Guillermo have anything to add on this question on the impact of the USMCA and the projection for Aguascalientes.
No, I don't. I think Eduardo covered it primarily. From my perspective, it is the increase in content for the automotive sector, which is driving a lot of investment and changes. Yes, thank you.
I would like to add that we are seeing very positive impact, a lot of interest of many companies to invest and to take products to Mexico. We also are seeing that we are going to have a need to increase the local suppliers, so it's part of the commitments. And also the good thing is that labor is going to become a more important topic, and the good basis that we have is going to be very helpful, because all the contractual things that we are seeing are already covered in Aguascalientes. So I think that's a plus for the state.
Yeah, no, thank you, Guillermo, Steve, and Eduardo. We have a few other questions, and we might go a little over time to have a little more time for some of these questions. So in your presentation, Eduardo, you mentioned some of the infrastructure projects that the state has been working on. So one of the questions that we have is, what are the main infrastructure projects that the state government currently has, and what can we expect in the future in terms of infrastructure in Aguascalientes?
Thank you, Jose. Well, as I mentioned, we are working thoroughly in the energy sector, but there's also some other infrastructure projects, such as we are basically remodeling the urban infrastructure so that it can provide conditions for the people of Aguascalientes to have a better quality of life. We have been working thoroughly with the highway system within the state. We were the only state in the Bajío region that didn't have a connection an internal connection with a bypass that allowed the visitors to surpass the city without getting into the city through this bypass. 1 month ago, this project started. It had been laid off for 18 years due to different factors. So our governor finally put an end to this, and we will have this bypass that will allow over 40,000 cars or vehicles to go from the northern part of town to the southern part of town in less than 25 minutes. We have another project with the state of Jalisco. We are finishing a local point from the train infrastructure that will allow companies to get by train their products from Manzanillo, Colima in the Pacific Ocean to the Altamira port in the Gulf of Mexico through Guadalajara and Aguascalientes without having to go south to Guanajuato. And this will save at least 10 hours by train in the transportation of products. So this obviously will enhance the trade activities and will represent a boost to the efficiency, to the cost efficiency of the different companies utilizing this corridor. And we have another project that will link Aguascalientes to León, Querétaro. This is for the midterm, so that we're thinking about establishing a train that connects with, that eventually will connect to Querétaro and Mexico City, so that we have a train passengers that will allow Mobile to engage. This last is a project that at least is going to take 10 years, but these are 3 different projects that we're working on in infrastructure so that we can solidify the economy and the well-being of the people in this region.
Thanks, Eduardo. There's one last question, and we're running out of time, so I think this is the last question. But I think it's a very interesting one in terms of how does the U.S.-Mexico relationship more broadly, not just USMCA, but the U.S.-Mexico relationship more broadly benefit or impact the state of Aguascalientes?
I can answer that partly, but obviously I would love Steve and Patrick to jump in afterwards. The city of Aguascalientes and the state of Aguascalientes have or are what they are nowadays, thanks a lot to the confidence of the American community of investors. We have a long-term relationship with different U.S. organizations. We obviously acknowledge the importance of the U.S. as our main commercial partner, and therefore we have created a lot of links through our educational models, through our companies, through the interchange of people going back and forth. So I want this region of Rio has a lot of debt, I would say, moral debt to the confidence and trust of the U.S. For having operations in this area of Mexico. So I can only answer with a lot of gratitude to what the U.S. have done here in this area particularly.
I think it's worth mentioning, if I can, it's not a sudden development that Aguascalientes and the Bajío region have all of a sudden become so competitive. This is a long-term process, and it's a reflection of the long-term relationship and partnership between the U.S. and Mexico and how intertwined our economies are. I mentioned supply chains. So this is from my perspective, this is just a tremendous success story that goes beyond short-term perspectives or potential irritants in a relationship as large and complex as as that exists between the United States and Mexico. I think it's a huge success story. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen, Eduardo, for those your comments on the future of the relationship and the importance of the bilateral relationship and the projection in the future of the things to come between Aguascalientes and American companies. So I think we ran out of time, but if you have any further questions, I sent this to the chat as well. Please feel free to send us an email at trade@amcham.org.mx, and we can put you in touch with any of the panelists. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Now, I would like to close. So on behalf of AmCham Mexico, we thank you all for joining us today. Please receive these virtual recognitions, Eduardo, Steve, and Guillermo, in gratitude for your participation this morning. Thank you all to all the attendees for joining us this morning and for the questions that you've asked. At the end of the session, you will receive a small satisfaction survey. We ask for your support by filling it out, and so we can learn from your experience at this event. And the QR code on your screen can also take you to the survey. Thank you all for your time today, and we'll see you at our next webinar. Oh, happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you, Jose.
Yeah,
And
thank you, Anna.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning. It was a very insightful conversation. Have a great day. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Pleasure.
Good day.
Bye-bye.